Levar os portugueses mais longe. Ser uma ponte entre Portugal e os Estados Unidos da América. Esta é a missão da Fundação Luso-Americana para o Desenvolvimento. A FLAD nasceu em 1985 na sequência do Acordo das Lajes e por aqui passaram até hoje milhares de pessoas e ideias que ajudámos a transformar em realidade. Promovemos a partilha de conhecimento e experiências através de bolsas de estudo, estágios, prémios e conferências unindo os dois lados do Atlântico. Trabalhamos diretamente com a comunidade portuguesa nos Estados Unidos. Queremos contribuir para que o papel dos luso-americanos seja cada vez mais forte e para que as origens portuguesas sejam continuamente celebradas. Nesta ligação atlântica surgem, claro, os Açores. Pela sua importância geoestratégica de segurança e defesa, científica e cultural, são um ponto essencial na atividade da FLAD. Somos ciência, educação, arte e relações transatlânticas. Há 36 anos a contribuir para o desenvolvimento de Portugal e dos portugueses.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our panel this evening. It's all about the impact and potential of publishing houses. And we have guest speakers today, Onesimo Almeida from Gavea Brown, Mario Pereira from Tagus Press, and Diniz Borges from Bruma Publications. My name is Anabela Dacruz-Melo. I am a director from PALCUS, and I'll be your panelist today. And I'd like to start off by asking each and every one of you to introduce yourself. And I'd like to start with Onesimo, if you could.
Hi, I'm Onesimo Almeida. I just came from a class. I rushed in a little bit late, but I don't seem to have missed very much. I am teaching I've been teaching at Brown for almost 60 years. I don't have to waste time. The topic today is publishing, and I created Gavea Brown in 1980, and we've been publishing books, but more about this later. We also publish 3 journals, and one of the journals is also called Gavea Brown, but it's dedicated to Portuguese American studies and letters. About this more later.
Okay. And Mario, please.
Hi, Mario Pereira. I'm executive editor of Tagus Press and the Center for Portuguese Studies at UMass Dartmouth. I got a PhD from Brown University in history of Portuguese art. And then I got a postdoc at University of Pittsburgh, and then got this position at UMass Dartmouth in 2010. So I've been there for 10 years. No, 2011, sorry. Yeah, and the press was started, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s by Frank Souza and Victor Menz, and they finally created a full-time position, and so that's what I now have.
Okay, thank you. And Diniz?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. First of all, I must say that the amount of years that Onesimo says he's been teaching at Brown, he started when he was 7. So just to let you know, he was instead of going to elementary school, he went directly to Brown. But because he only looks like he's 45. But anyway,
either you're a liar or you don't know how to do math.
Math. I was very, very poor in math. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you, PALCUS, for inviting Bruma. We've just started, so we're just not even 6 months old. We're just in the midst of beginning what will be our first publication, hopefully very, very soon. As a matter of fact, we began in March, kicked it off with a conference that was done on the role of publishing by Onesimo Almeida. And a little bit about myself. I'm an immigrant from the island of Terceira. I always try to say that because most people think immigrants from to the United States are from San Miguel, but no, I'm from Terceira. And I taught at high school for 22 years and also at the College of the Sequoias. And after I retired from that job, I found myself going back to Fresno State, where I taught for 6 semesters in the early 2000s. And I'm a lecturer of Portuguese, and I'm in charge of the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute, which is something that which is an institute that was created for, of course, Portuguese beyond the Portuguese language and culture. We are working with 3 different colleges, and from PBBI, the birth of Bruma Publications.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to hear from each one of you a little bit about the actual publishing house and how it's serving the community, what books are being published, is the community buying books, things of that nature. If you, I keep calling on Onesimo just because, I don't know, I just feel that he probably has the most to offer. Oh, no, not because you're the oldest.
No, it's okay. It is. No. Yeah, and I understand. I started publishing, doing these adventures in 1980 because there was nothing around. And at Brown, I thought that it would be a good idea. There was nothing around about the Portuguese. I started the press because of Portuguese Americans. There was not enough material about Portuguese Americans, and I was interested. George Monteiro was also interested, but George Monteiro was into writing, not into publishing or doing anything like a press. So I was the one. It's too long. I want to skip details, so I started a journal and a press, and the press was doing the goal of the press was to do translations of Portuguese literature because there was virtually nothing about. So our first book was a book about of George Monteiro translations of Pessoa, and then George Monteiro on Sena. There was virtually nothing by George Sena in English, so in English. So it was the beginning of it all. I mean, it was such a long time ago. Nowadays, these things are available. So I started doing this because I had a lot of energy there, and I thought that something had to be done. And then also about Portuguese America, publishing about the Gavea brand, the journal. The idea was to publish things in Portuguese and in English, studies about the Portuguese, but also creative writing, short stories, poetry that somehow had to do with the Portuguese American experience. So the journal started being published, and it's still being published today. It's 40 years of a journal that there's a lot that has been collected. It's there. We're finishing now the fall issue of 2021. This is our 41st year, and it is an incredible amount of work, because then we had to professionalize this. The journal we have to find to standardize the publication, find referees. We have to. The whole enterprise is very time consuming. Same thing with the publication of the books. When Frank Souza started Tagus Press, I felt bad that he did not tell me that he was going to do that, because I would have told him, let us do something together. But Frank had a different idea about of how to do things, and he wanted to do one on his own. So he started Tagus Press, and people thought, okay, why there was no rivalry. I wanted to join him. Let us make a strong thing. Why are we going to have 2 presses 30 minutes away from each other, 30 miles away, not even 30 miles away from each other? But luckily now the press, Tagus Press, is in the hands of Mario Pereira, and I'm on my way out. Gavea brand is folding, because nobody is going to continue. I'm not going to have anybody coming to Brown who is going to be interested in Portuguese America, interested in publishing. All the demands today are so. I mean, the way these things turned out to be cannot be replicated. It's not because I'm unreplaceable. It's just that nobody's going to advertise, someone who can do publishing, someone who can write about the Portuguese America, Portuguese history. These things aren't done. These things grow naturally given the circumstances. So luckily, Mario Pereira invited me to cooperate with him on a Portuguese Onesorian series, Bellis Azorica, and I've been working with him, and we've been republishing books out of print from Gavea because at least at UMass did a very nice thing. It in charge one person just of publication. So now they are associated with UMass Press. They have professionalized it. There's not going to depend anymore on just one person and my secretary and all, because this requires professionalization. And I realized that this is the way to go. We are together again now for the first time, but doing a very good job at that. I'm a friend and admirer of the wonderful work that Mario does. Mario is an extremely good professional. He's running the press extremely well. And I have not only no problem in cooperating with him, but I'm glad that I can cooperate with him, because this is what I always wanted to do, was to have a consortium, to have, so we are going to continue. We now have 3 journals. We have the Gavea that is dedicated to Portuguese American studies and letters. We have a journal only about Pessoa, which is an international journal. It's the only international journal on Fernando Pessoa. And we have another one on Portuguese history. It's 20 years already. And all of these come out twice a year. It's so much work that not one single person can do all of this. So these journals are going to continue, but I'll be retiring in 1 year. And I'll gladly continue working with Mario, because I don't have to do a lot of the things that I used to do. I can make suggestions, help making selections, do all kinds of things that are within my reach, but I don't have to run the day-to-day thing, because later on we'll be talking about distribution. Just distribution in itself, it's a huge deal. If you don't associate yourself with, luckily UMass Dartmouth, Tagus is connected now with UMass Press. UMass Press does all that stuff. All this stuff cannot be done anymore at an amateurish level. It has to be done professionally. I'll stop for now, and then I'll let others talk, and then we'll come back to some of these issues.
Okay. And Mario, can we hear from you as to your publishing house and how it's serving the community and what books are being published?
Yeah, I'll start by thanking Onesimo for his kind and generous words. The feeling is mutual. I think we've all learned so much from Onesimo in so many ways over so many years. And the partnership with him, personally and institutionally, has been nothing but a benefit. I mean, it's been fantastic, and it's the way I think publishing in this field can continue and grow is by making these kinds of partnerships and pooling our resources. So we'll have a greater impact that way. So the Tagus Press started somewhat along the same lines that Onesimo was describing, with an academic journal, with a focus on Portuguese American literature, and another series that was dedicated more to Portuguese classics, essays, open to all variety of genres. And then that was, I think the journal was 98. The book series started in 2002. And then what Frank Souza was able to do was to get a sales and distribution agreement with what was then the University Press of New England, based at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. And he was able to get UMass Dartmouth to create this permanent position dedicated only to the publications, full-time editor position, which is extraordinary. And after doing this job for 10 years, I have no idea how Onesimo managed to do everything that he's done, not just with Gavea, the books and the journals and the teaching and his own academic career. I mean, it takes up so much time. But one thing that I've been able to develop as a full-time editor is we publish in a number of different series, and each series has a series editor, and each series has an editorial board. So I'm able to sort of tap into the resources and expertise of a lot of people and hear different perspectives from academics, some with a focus on Portugal, others with a focus on Brazil, to get a good feel of the field, and to sort of make decisions on publishing books that cover a range of topics and a range of interests. And when you think about sort of the future of publishing, that's one of the things I'm trying to be careful about, is not getting stuck in just one direction, one focus, but staying broad and appealing in a broader manner. And so the Bella Caesarica series in particular has been great, working with Onesimo and working with Brown, doing original works that have not yet been translated, and republishing some, combining that, interspersing that with works that were originally published by Gavea Brown. And so the first book in that series, Stormy Isles, which is translated by Francisco Corfagundes, who's also been an extremely important figure in all of this. He spent, I think, 20 years rereading his translation and making corrections, and then sent it to us, and we reread it, and we got it copy edited. So it's been an opportunity to revisit these classics and have new introductions. So it's more than just republishing Gavea Brown's publications. I mean, Onesimo and the translators, everyone's putting in renewed efforts to get these out.
It sounds like it would be a review or an improvement. It's being improved every time it's being reviewed.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so with my position being sort of an institutionalized full-time position, we were also able to then work agreements within the UMass system, so that UMass Press, I work intimately with them. I meet with them remotely every other week. We have staff meetings. So it is like being part of a university press, and really sort of takes it to another level.
May I interrupt one thing? What Mario said, thanking me, the words, I didn't say those things just to be nice. It is true. Tagus Press has been doing a wonderful job. I recognize that. And I'm joining Tagus Press with enthusiasm, because they are capable of, they have, like he said, they created a full-time position to do this, and they are associated with the UMass Press. And I don't mind at all that Gavea Brown is going to phase and disappear. Although, as long as I live and as long as I can be useful, I'll be delighted to work with someone like Mario. I really think that Mario is an extremely good professional and a wonderful person. I'm not saying this to be nice to him. I'm saying this because this is exactly how I feel about it. It has been wonderful. We have published already quite a few books. We have books lined up for the next almost 10 years on our series. I've made suggestions to him about people in the series. They are working the same way. And we are, for instance, we have been utilizing Francisco Fagundes, who is retired and is an incredibly resourceful person. We have people, resourceful, great people in the community, and we are, associating them with in our projects. Why? And this is, I think, the way it should be done: a collective work, a collective enterprise, utilizing the best of what people can offer. And like I said, we have talent, and with someone like Mario, who is a great, I would say, great leader, because a great leader does not, it doesn't show up. It does not appear in the public eye, but is running everything behind and running very smoothly and very professionally. So again, these are not cheap words. This is exactly how I feel about all this.
And then we have Diniz, who has, we talk about these different publishing houses, Tagus Press and Gavea Brown, and then we have the baby of the publishing houses, if I may, and he's going to tell us about that one.
Very, 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 very baby. Indeed, here in California, just a little bit to contextualize it as well. And I must say, when Onesimo said that he started Gavea Brown in 1980 because he had a lot of energy. He used the verb in the past tense. Onesimo has a lot of energy. There's a lot of people that still would like to. There's a lot of people in college right now, attending school, that like to have the energy that Onesimo has, and everyone knows this. I'm not just, these are not cheap words as well. They're just truths that everyone knows about, the power and the influence and the pioneering that Onesimo did that made Tagus Press in a way it is what it is. And now, with this cooperation between Gavea Brown and Tagus Press, and I commend both of them, and certainly Onesimo, and I think the community owes him a lot, a great deal for his pioneering publishing in the United States with the translations, like he said, because there was really nothing. And so, a little bit of context here in California, we've never really had, and Onesimo knows this well, and I think Mario knows as well, which is we've never really had a university press in the Portuguese studies area. There's been some periodic things that UC Santa Barbara did. There's been some periodic things that were done at UC Berkeley, but there hasn't been any consistency, and we know that until a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, almost 20 years ago as well, two young men by the name of Tony Goulart and José Rodrigues began Portuguese Heritage Publications of California, which is not an academic press, but I think I know Onesimo knows it well, and I know that Mario does as well. But I think Onesimo would agree with me, has done a tremendous job in putting forth and publishing research, and much of it was done at an academic level and brought into the hands of the editors, Tony Goulart and José Rodrigues, and then later on Henrique Diniz. And so the Portuguese Heritage Publications of California has been kind of not in operation in a lot of ways for the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years. And since we began PBBI now just a little over 2 years ago, it was in February of 2019, I was approached actually first by the university, because the university we have a very strong Armenian study center in Fresno. The Armenian community is huge in Fresno, maybe not in numbers, but huge in influence. And so the Armenian Studies has a press, and they've been publishing for over 20 years. And we were approached, why do we not do the same thing for PBBI? And that's where the idea of Bruma Publications came in, to create within the structure of the California State University system, a publishing house that can only, of course, dream to be a tenth of what Tagus Press is, and what Gavea Brown has done, but to begin the process of publishing certainly works that have been that have been researched, and some of them have never seen the light of day here in California, and to continue the work that Portuguese Heritage Publication of California has done, since it is I don't know if public knowledge, but there's lots of different possibilities that it may not have at least the force that it did have at one time, because folks get tired and it has taken on a different direction. But I must say that the lack of some of the publishing that did not occur maybe at the university press level in California was certainly made up with Portuguese Heritage Publications of California. We're hoping to continue this tradition at Fresno State. We're hoping to have, of course, partnerships, whether it be with Tagus Press, whether it be with Onesimo. We're always going to ask Onesimo independently if he wants to retire or not. We're always going to ask him for his help and his vision and his leadership in putting forth some of the publications. Our very first one actually is a collection done by Manuel Costa Fontes, which I know that Onesimo knows well. He's the one that actually introduced me to him many years ago, many years ago, and he has a collection of fables that were done here in California in the early 1970s, late 60s and early 70s, of Azorean immigrants that came to California and would pass on these fables as part of oral history. So it fits into what we're doing at Fresno State, which is part of the biggest part of what PBBI is all about, is collecting the oral history of the Portuguese Americans not just in Central California, but throughout the state, but focusing on Central California. So this research done by Professor Manuel Costa Fontes for many years ago, and it was basically done in the San Joaquin Valley, and we feel that it's right time to publish it. And so that is actually the first one. We're going to hope to publish it in the spring of this coming year of 2022, with COVID ending, we hope. And we have a lot of other projects in the works. We just, of course, need all of the exactly what I was mentioning to Mario before we got on. There's a lot of bureaucratic things that, as he said, I don't know how Onesimo did it. I don't know if I'll have the patience or the courage or the tenacity to do it, because it seems like every time you cross one hoop, there's another one. But we do have the Fresno State Administration on board, and that's good, because when you have that, you can get some things done, but it just takes longer than probably would have taken, through a more independent version like the Portuguese Heritage Publications of California. So we hope to continue with what they did. We actually hope that we can find a place within Bruma for all of the publishing items that were done through the Portuguese Heritage Publications of California. So we're just beginning, and it was a need, I believe, and that's why I took on the challenge for the West Coast.
Diniz, before I move on to somebody else or another topic, can you just tell us what PBDI stands for our
Sure.
audience that doesn't know?
Sure. Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute. So it's an institute at Fresno State, created in February of 2019. So just a little over 2 years ago. And then as we were getting things rolled, guess what happened? COVID hit just a year later. We've transitioned a lot of things to online, like everyone else has. The Institute works with 3 colleges. It works with the entire university, but mainly it's housed in 3 colleges: College of Arts and Humanities, Social Science, and the Jordan College of Agricultural Science and Technology, because of the very, very large presence of the Portuguese American community in the agricultural world and the dairy world, where actually Portuguese Heritage Publications published Al Graves' book, The Portuguese Californians, about the Portuguese in agriculture. We have several projects going on, mainly the collection of oral histories, a lecture and speaker series. We formed a community of writers tied to the Azores. We're doing a lot of different things at the same time. But our big focus, of course, is oral history.
So in essence, all of these publishing houses have an academic basis for most, I guess, of what they're publishing. Are you publishing other books that go out into the community?
I can answer that. It was always my point never to make Gavea an academic journal. Gavea publishes quality stuff, things that are good in English and Portuguese that somehow have to do with the Portuguese. That doesn't have to be by academics. It was never. Also the same thing. We published books by immigrants. I used to publish in Portuguese, but not anymore. I try now to have, because things have changed very much. Books that before were published, had no way of being published. Nowadays, they can be published in Portuguese, but they published in the Azores or in Portugal. They can be published. So it was, Gavea was never only academic. Actually, was not made to be an academic journal. The other 2 journals are, but I must say that the publishing scene has changed dramatically in the last 15, 20 years. And in the last 5 years, it also changed dramatically, because Portuguese, whatever is published in Portuguese now should not be published in the United States. It can be published, and it is still published, but we want a broader audience. Right now, the Portuguese Minister of Foreign Affairs created a series at Imprensa Nacional Casa da Moeda, and I am I'm a member of the board, and we are republishing. You mentioned Manuel Costa Fontes, books about the Portuguese in the United States and Canada that were published, were not widely disseminated, but now we have this possibility of doing it at Imprensa Nacional. So Diniz, we should be talking about this in the future. We have to connect and make sure that these books, because they also do e-books. Another thing is journals have appeared. Gavea Brown is a mixed journal, academic and non-academic, but right now there is an academic journal. Irene Blair and Dulce Scott was a student here at Brown, a PhD, is also out there doing this journal, the International Journal of Portuguese Diaspora Studies. They are an academic journal publishing about Portuguese American and all this. So nowadays it is easy for any good stuff to find an outlet. Gavea Brown was in the beginning was publishing everything, studies about Portugal. Now I am a co-editor of a series published in England. We publish books, 3 books a year on Portuguese Lusophone topics. Some of my students who have done theses with us, one of them, Brianna Medeiros, who is giving a lecture tomorrow at the Better the Wedding Museum. She wrote a thesis about comparing social issues in Azorian and Cape Verdean literature. Her book, her thesis was published there as a book. So there are so many outlets now, and they didn't exist. And luckily, I'm connected with a bunch of them, almost all of them. So this is why I don't feel I have to continue publishing Gavea Brown books, because they are now networks that are more institutionalized, more professional, and I can help them, and they are doing things. They have completely transformed. The scenario out there has completely changed in the last. Any good stuff about. Talk about translations, not only our press, other press also. The journalists are now more sensitive to Portuguese studies and Portuguese American studies. Anybody with a good article nowadays can publish it at a good journal, because we don't want to insularize Portuguese and Portuguese American studies. We have our own ventures, but other journals and presses are also open to it, and lots of Portuguese American writers have published books and articles in journals and in presses that are not our Portuguese American presses. So sorry to looks like I'm dominating this. Oh, I want to talk. I'm talking too much, but I want to give a clear impression of the scene out there that is much broader and much vaster and much brighter than it was when we were all blind in 1980.
Yeah,
we thank you for that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I can say in my own experience, just the past, 5 years, our relationship with UMass Press is based on the fact that they're interested in what we do, in our material, in the subject matter, and not because, we were going to help them financially. So there is a broader awareness and interest in what we do and what Nesbitt's been doing for decades. It's sort of reached the other level now.
Let me give you 2 examples. I'm sorry to come back again, but that's 40 years of this. Francisco Fagundes wrote a beautiful autobiography called Hard Knocks. Why did I publish it? Because UMass Press rejected it. He had no way out, no way of publishing it. And I said, this is very good. This has to be published. Nowadays, UMass Press would have accepted it. Rebecca Katz out there from California spent 15 years translating the travels of Fernando Mendes Pinto. She came to me and said, no publisher wants this. It's too big. Nobody cares about Fernando Mendes Pinto. You publish it. And I said, look, I'd love to publish this, but I don't want. This is too good for Gavea Brown. I said, how are you going to do it? He says, you're going to write to some of the big presses and ask them, why don't you want to publish this? Because this is costly. How much do you want? The University of Chicago Press replied, 15,000. So I called José Blanco, a great guy in Gulbenkian then, and I said, we need 15,000. I could publish this in Gavea Brown, much cheaper, but then the distribution would not be the same. University of Chicago Press will publish this professionally if you get 15,000. On the spot, Blanco gave the money, and the book had 3 editions. Now the book is available in English because of that. Also, our people did not have enough knowledge about how to go about these things. But again, the ground is already broken. Lobo Antunes publishes, Saramago, so many Portuguese authors have books translated into. Tomorrow I'm interviewing on my television show Patricio Ferrari. New Horizons in New York is publishing, it's coming out with all the stuff on Pessoa. The New York Review of Books has a great article on Pessoa, Richard Zenith's biography. All these things were unheard of. So we've come a long way. And yes, it is important that we continue with our presses, but there's a lot of work out there that has been done and is being done, and as I said before, we are far from the way the situation where we were initially 40 years ago.
We've come a long way. Mario, before we went on the air, we were talking numbers, and you mentioned some numbers. Can you tell us in terms of, so our audience can get an idea, how many books do you publish annually?
Sure. We try to publish around 6 books per year. Sometimes we'll do more than that, depending on funding, depending on the progress of books. Sometimes we'll do less. Like last year, because of COVID, things got put on hold until the university knew everything was going to be okay. But that means we missed a publishing season. So we only ended up publishing 2 books last year. But this year we'll have 9 books come out. But we try to stay 6 to 8 is sort of ideal. Because even though I'm a full-time person, there's still limited time during the day. And as Diniz was saying before we went on the air, working in a state institution means you need to have a lot of meetings, and things change with administrations and things have to be redone. But in terms of what we can handle and what UMass Press can handle for us in terms of promotion and sales and distribution, 6 to 8 is probably the ideal number. But one thing I want to say about communities, the previous question, was that our books in the Portuguese and America series, and we try to have somewhat of a balance with works of fiction, with literature, and works of history and social sciences. Those books are our most popular books. They do sell well, and they sell consistently over the years. It's not just the book comes out, everyone buys it, goes to the book launch and forgets about it. There is a sustained interest in Portuguese American literature and works of more academic, works of social science and history. I think there's a book by Jerry Williams that we republished on immigration from the Azores, and we have to reprint that book all of the time. It's constantly selling.
So there's a demand for your books.
Right, from the community.
Right. So your efforts are fabulous, but is there anything that PALCUS can help you with in terms of getting or improving on those efforts and getting more word out, getting more books out, book launches, book signing, things like that?
Yeah, definitely. The more some books we do because they need to be done, because things need to be documented. But we want as many people to read our books as possible. Yeah, so the more events we can do, the more promotions, the better for the subject, for the book itself, for the authors.
Is there possibly, go ahead, Onesimo.
Perhaps PALCUS could have a section just on books, and then with links to the presses and to the books that are available, and with news about the books coming. This is besides doing, like Mario suggested, plugging into book launch launches. Have a section on Portuguese American books or just Portuguese books. PALCUS does a marvelous. The newsletter is wonderful. I've been spreading the great newsletter because it's full of so much information. But also, why not a section on books? Portuguese American books, books about Portuguese topics, or Azorian topic, or Lusophone topics, whatever. And just links. You don't have to have them all. Just various links, and people interested go to books. Okay, then a link, and then you're there. You are at Tagus, you are at Gavea Brown, you are at the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute Press, etc. So that will be a great service. But also when we have launchings, I try to send information out to the lecture tomorrow. I will send to PALCUS and all this. So a better organization of a system of disseminating the information about these events. Yeah. Yes.
There's a lot of exposure. So the more exposure you get.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Because the thing about our Portuguese community is it's spread out there. There are lots of people out there that are sort of lost and don't have any connection. But then this is a way of them knowing, PALCUS, let me get into. I've gotten a few PALCUS members in the last 3 or 4 days. I showed them the newsletter. They are interested and they're going to join PALCUS because they realize that this is a great service. So this is a way of connecting through internet, and this way they will know that these things are out there. I'm in the middle of the US somewhere, but every time I plug into PALCUS, I know that I'm connected to a lot of stuff that is going on at the international level that I was not aware of.
Yeah, Anabela, if I can.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure. Onesimo was completely right. I think that, and even Mario and I had, right before COVID, we were talking about a possible partnership. When I mean a partnership is obviously, it is important to talk about all of the work that Tagus Press is doing and Gavea Brown has done and continues to do with the partnership with Tagus Press to bring those out also to the West Coast. And West Coast doesn't mean just California. As Onesimo mentioned, there's a lot of new communities that PALCUS has done a good job, making disseminating that information and partaking of these new communities. Arizona, Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, Texas, etc. And so I think the more partnerships we do, and here at PBBI, we are all open to these kinds of partnerships the same way that pre-PBBI, we were still doing them in California with other universities and even with community organizations. Gavea Brown, as Onesimo knows, the Portuguese Cultural Center here in Tulare would promote Gavea Brown. It was a way to promote basically what is being done at a national level with our various networks. I think that PALCUS can be an important voice there. I think a book section is a wonderful, an author section, featuring a particular author that is being published by these presses. And so talking about on a continuous basis, what is going on in the Portuguese creative community that then finds its voice through these presses and other presses, because as Onesimo mentioned, we do have, and fortunately, it is much different than it was in 1980, thanks to him, obviously, and efforts of others as well. But today we do have Portuguese American writers and poets publishing in independent houses, publishing, in a lot of Goulart publishers in different different publishing houses throughout the United States. So is Sam Pereira and many others. And so I think that bringing all this together can help those who are doing this work at the university level, as Mario said, and those who are even publishing or on their own, or that we have had, as Onesimo knows, and he has actually written about. We've had some excellent creative works being published by authors themselves in the past. Edições de Autor. They've been, there's been some excellent works that have been published throughout the West and the East Coast as well. So I think it's just a matter of there are probably fewer and fewer of us involved in this process, but I do believe that that is one of the reasons why we have to work a little bit more collaboratively and PALCUS is the only national organization that really can bring all of these synergies together.
Perhaps you can provide more access to PALCUS members by allowing them or giving them, access to book signings and things like that. That's something that would be very informative and would, reach reach the goal of disseminating and distributing your books. Perhaps even the PALCUS discount to PALCUS members. Something of that, nature could be built into this. With all these efforts, I think our time is coming to an end now. It's been wonderful to hear from all of you and how these different publishing houses are actually telling the stories of the communities and documenting everything. Your last words or closing arguments on each one of you would be appreciated.
Well, since I was always the first one to talk, I will say that I'm quite optimistic and the future looks bright because there's quite a few energetic people out there, and there's a lot being produced and a lot of material with great quality, not only in our presses, but coming out in other presses. So more and more we'll get more visibility. What we have to do is get more and more our Portuguese American community that does not have a tradition of reading, have their children, now that they have these books available in English, make them aware of the fact that these books exist, and their parents who are not used to read, but they, those who like reading, these books are available, and they would be glad to know that they exist. And I'm sure they would also enjoy reading it. This is why PALCUS comes in very handy, because PALCUS can help us spread the news that there's a lot out there already published, and a lot is being published, and a lot is going to continue to be published. So we want now a larger number of readers out there.
Mario?
Yeah, I think, institutionally, from our perspective as editors and publishers, the future is bright, and we have a lot of work to do. But also, I'm excited about the new generation of Portuguese American authors and the different types of writing that we're seeing coming out now. So it'll be fun to see what directions sort of literature and scholarship, lots of, people are going to colleges, going into programs where these are legitimate research topics that are funded and supported. And I'm excited to see what the new generation, when they look back at, earlier time, what their perspective is going to be on us.
Okay.
Indeed, that is a very good point, Mario. I think that there is a lot of scholarship at different universities throughout both coasts and throughout the United States in general that the younger generation is tapping into that our generation, my generation especially, probably didn't. But and they, as you said, they find funding even within their own area of expertise, and that's great. The other thing is, it's as Onesimo said, it's just bringing all of this together. And for example, the collection that Onesimo mentioned about the Azorian writers in translation that is being published, the Belis Zórica. So it is being published also in Ponta Delgada. It's being published by Letras Lavadas in Ponta Delgada, and it's being sold well in Ponta Delgada by Letras Lavadas. They do their own publishing. It's usually a different cover than, and it's amazing to walk into a bookstore in São Miguel and see all of these works from Tagus Press. And according to Senhor José Ernesto that owns Letras Lavadas and Nova Gráfica, he tells me that especially during the cruise industry, which is coming back, people would go there and they would want works in English. Because people, a lot of the times, this is just an anecdotal, but it's the truth. The industry is when they reposition those big old cruise ships, and people just walk around Ponta Delgada. They walk into the bookstore, and they're going to be on a cruise ship a lot of times for another 9 or 10 days. They want to read something, and the language that bonds them together they can read it is in English. And so he is even thinking, I I just mentioned to him, and he thought it would be a good idea, that some of these Portuguese Americans that Mario was saying that are doing some great writing, some of these younger Portuguese Americans that are now publishing, also have that published through all of these different presses. Like Sam Pereira just published his book through a press in New York State. That maybe we can get those also to Letras Lavadas, because he thinks that would be one way for another audience to know about the Portuguese American experience. Because if you walk into Letras Lavadas, as Onesimo knows better than I do, he's there more often, but you will see, books from Nicholas Sparks and all these other people in English. So why not have Portuguese American authors who traditionally write in English, have them also available for the Portuguese audience in the Azores, but also that tourist audience, however it goes through the Azores. It was fabulous to see. I bought actually a copy because of David help me, Onesimo, Brookshaw.
No,
the translation of
David Brookshaw.
Yes,
David Brookshaw, yeah.
Right, the translation of The Unknown Islands, portanto, As Ilhas Desconhecidas, do Brandão. So I bought the translation in Ponta Delgada. I didn't have it yet, and I figured it would be one way to, it was another book to weigh on down my luggage. But it was wonderfully done, and he told me that it actually has been selling well. So kudos to Onesimo and Mario for getting together with Letras Lavadas and doing this other agreement that takes to the other side of the Atlantic what is being created here.
This was a payback. The Azorian government is helping a little bit, not a lot, but helping a little bit. This is a payback. So, and this is a practical way of, it's too costly to have books shipped from here there. So to have all these books in Azorian authors or Portuguese authors translated into English, but only available here. Amazon does not sell them to Portugal, too costly. So the idea was to do what I did with the first edition of Uma Tempo no Canal of Fagundes in 1998. It was printed here and printed there, distributed there. So Mario and I talked about this, and I suggested Letras Lavadas, and the idea is that there are so many tourists, so many people from all over the world who read English and are there. They don't know about Tagus, but if they see the books that they buy, and it has been working out, and I think that we can explore that more and more. By the way, we tried also with Companhia das Ilhas, but Companhia das Ilhas turned us down. We thought that books like Uma Tempo no Canal should have been done around like in Pico, because there are lots of people, like Dacruz-Melo, for instance, should be sold printed there anyway. But it's been working out very well. And again, back to Mario. Mario has been wonderful. He's the one who does the practical things, arranging things, but I also see the books there, and I know that people write to me, and I talk to them, and they're pleased that they finally go to. They also send books to the hotels. So because they are authors, that it's raining users, what are they going to do? They want to read something in English, so the books are there. So they didn't exist before. There was nothing. So we have a great market there. We must continue doing it.
And that relationship is fantastic for us. I love it. Their books are beautiful. Their editions are high quality. They reach audiences that we could never dream of reaching. We'd have no way of doing it. So it really helps us, complements what we do, and expands it in wonderful, beneficial ways for us, for the Azores.
They are happy, we are happy, and the readers are happy.
Right.
So that's where to end. Everybody's happy.
That's right. It's a nice way to end. Everybody's happy, and I want to thank you all for coming on and telling us all about this, their publishing houses, and I look forward to reading some of these books.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure talking to all of you.
Thank you.